you, Karen. First on the agenda is public communication. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council about items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on. Our discussion item today, item number 1, City of Chino Redistricting 2021-22. This is to conduct a workshop to further review the draft redistricting maps that were received by the city. Our presentation this evening, or this afternoon, will be provided by Jeff Simonetti and Douglas Johnson of the National Demographics Corporation. Gentlemen.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Simonetti with the National Demographics Corporation, and online you can see Doug's smiling face over there. Say hi, Doug.
Hello.
So this afternoon, the purpose of this afternoon's workshop is to, again, review the draft maps that we have received. And since our last hearing, we've had 3 additional maps. And so you'll see in the back here, we have put together the maps with additional sets of data. So you can see the City of Chino has worked in the housing elements sites that have potential for future growth areas. And we've also specifically identified the communities of interest that were identified at the September hearing, specifically on each one of the maps. So as a reminder before we begin, and so what I thought we could do is just go through a quick overview of the process, and then I'll kick it back to council and ask if there are particular maps that you'd like to focus on, or if you'd like to go through each one of them individually. And then what we're trying to get here is get some more specific feedback on what are the maps that you like, what are the maps that you don't like, and if there are particular edits or changes that you'd like to make prior to the next council meeting, so that moving into the next council meeting, we can have a set of focus maps for you to really hone in on. So as a reminder of the process, we have up here on the screen here, we're talking about your redistricting rules and goals, and they really fall into 3 different categories. The first is on the left-hand side, which particularly pertain to the federal laws and the Federal Voting Rights Act, and that pertains to 2 main key components. First, we must have substantially equal population. And when we talk about substantially equal population, we've said in the past that the smallest district to the largest district in terms of a percentage can have a no greater than 10% deviation. And there can be no racial gerrymandering. In addition, since you've passed your existing set of maps, we had a law passed called the California Fair Maps Act, or AB 849, which was passed in 2019. And it creates a very specific set of rank-ordered criteria for cities. They have to have 4 key components. First, they have to be geographically contiguous. When practicable, they have to have undivided neighborhoods and communities of interest, and those are the areas that we've identified, and you can see those particularly on the maps. They are Park East, downtown Chino, the agricultural areas north of the 60 freeway, the College Park community, as well as the preserve. In addition, they have to have easily identifiable boundaries, and they have to be compact. And when we say compact, that means that you not bypass one group of people to get to a more distant group of people. Finally, we have some other traditional redistricting principles, and remember, again, this is following in order. So we have to hit the federal laws, we have to hit the state laws, and then we can consider the other traditional redistricting principles. So we've talked about future population growth, and as you can see on the maps here, we have some of the potential areas on the housing element site where you can see where there's potential areas for future growth. And we also try to look at potential ways to minimize the number of voters that are shifted between different election years. So say, for example, you're currently in a 2022 seat, but you'd be moved to a 2024 seat. You could potentially look at the number of what we call displaced voters who would be moved between different election cycles. And if you look on the maps, each one of those have the list too of the amount of displaced voters that would be moved between the different election cycles. So if we go to the next slide. So with that, I think it would be worthwhile stopping here and just to get direction from the council. Would you like to go through each one of the maps individually? Are there particular maps that you'd like to focus on? How would you like to view and process the maps here this afternoon?
Jeff, I think one of the logical things to do is to address the communities of interest.
Okay?
Because if the council, if the majority or unanimously supports keeping communities of interest together, that automatically eliminates certain maps.
Yes.
So I think process of elimination would make it a little bit easier. So I would like to poll the council right now on their personal opinions of communities of interest. So would you like to lead that poll, or would you like me?
Well, I'll let you lead that poll, but if I may, before we begin the poll, one of the things that we had put together in the past was the resolution pertaining to those communities of interest. And we received feedback that those, the ones that I mentioned, again, downtown Chino, Park East, College Park, the Preserve, and the lower density areas north of the 60 freeway were areas that we received feedback to say that we wanted to keep those together. One thing that we kept an eye out on was there further testimony beyond that to say, no, these areas should be split. And that was something that at the last hearing we did not receive. So just keep that in mind as we move forward, that it's, from everything that we've heard, there was not dissension against moving forward with keeping the communities of interest together.
Yes, I understand. Feedback that I have gotten also is if we have to split a community of interest, it should be split in no more than 2 districts. And some of these maps obviously were 3. So, Chris, your desire on keeping or splitting communities of interest?
Keeping communities of interest together.
Okay. Mark?
I'm more along the line of splitting the communities of interest, because what we're doing, if let's say, for example, the downtown Chino area, if we look at the community of interest in the downtown Chino area and you go to the east of Central Avenue, those, although that community is majority Hispanic, those are more duplexes, triplexes, and more multi-unit homes, even though they were probably originally designed as single-family homes. And the homes west of Central Avenue, those are going to be more single-family homes. So to say that they have the same needs, I would say that isn't the same. 2, when you add that community of interest into one area, then you turn that into a single voice for one representative, and you change the population of that area into a population of 70%. And I think one of the main reasons that we went into districting was because we could give people equal voices. And here what we're doing is we're taking people that were represented by 2 different council members and putting them into one, therefore taking their voice at least 1 vote away from somebody that's representing their voice. So we're changing the demographics into a 70%, or maybe a little over 70% of their demographics as being Hispanic, and just giving it to one person to represent. And I think that's doing a disservice to that community. Also, when you look down into the preserve, we know that we're already zoned for a majority of population growth. We're 1/3 built out there, and we're going to anticipate there's going to be 2/3 built out. Although in the past, because of an economic downturn, we did not build out. We anticipated it would be built out completely, and there may potentially be another economic downturn coming up. But we already know that with the current things that are approved down there and what's developing down there, we're going to surpass that 10% mark pretty quickly, and definitely before this element comes up. And then if you look at the housing elements that are proposed in this next 10 years, you'll see that the larger ones are all going to be in District 3, which you have the one that's south of College Park, you have the ones that are going to be north of Edison Avenue, and then you have the one that's going to be just off of Fern, potentially. And these aren't necessarily going to be developed into residential lots, but you're looking at a potential of increasing the population even more than what's already zoned for down in the preserve. So for me, I would think that it would be better to split such a large area, because I think in time, the preserve, with potentially 50,000 people eventually living there, either will eventually become a 2-person area to be to be managed by, or it's going to be a district all on its own. So to put that in with College Park, which is another large population, I think is, you're giving one person too many people to represent, especially coming into the future. And so my vote would be to not keep the communities of interest together, but to split them so that they have more of a voice and basically more people. And I'm not saying that the council isn't going to be looking out for them, but when you're out there and you're door knocking and you're making campaign promises to people, when these people elect you into office, they're going to expect that you're going to adhere to your word. So I think when you have two people addressing an area that is what they consider a community of interest, I think it's better when you're represented by two. That's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
Oh, Mayor, if I might, sorry
Yes,
to
sir.
interrupt, but
Go ahead, Doug.
just a vocabulary issue. As Mr. Simonetti noted, under California law, if something is called a community of interest, then it has to be kept together. But part of that community of interest definition is that it benefits from being in a single district. So just as, not disagreeing with anything the councilmember just said, just a wording thing where if you can refer to, we're not looking to split a community of interest. We're just saying these areas are not communities of interest if you don't think they benefit from being in a single district.
So we would have to, if we decide to split it, then we would have to change the designation and say that it is not a community of interest. Is that what you're saying?
Under the definition of a community of interest under the Fair Maps Act, yes.
Okay,
Because I thought when he was addressing the first page and he was covering the three categories, he led off with when feasible to keep the communities of interest together. So you're saying that he misspoke when he said that?
No, the term is that he uses when practicable, which essentially means whenever it's possible.
Okay, so then it's not mandatory, it's just when it's practical.
If I may,
I think if you think it's an area that benefits from being in a single district and thus meeting the definition of a community of interest, it needs to be kept together
yes,
under the law,
Fred.
unless there's no possible way to do it. But to your point, what you were talking about, the points you're making is accurate about these are areas that don't, in your opinion, that don't benefit from being in a single district.
Fred?
right, I think he just, Doug just explained what I was about to point out, because the legislation does say, to the extent practicable, the geographic integrity of any local neighborhood or local community of interest shall be respected in a manner that minimizes its division. But if there's some other criteria, or this council believes that a certain set of factors don't lend itself to creating a community of interest, then you have some discretion. But again, that when feasible, you should keep those communities of interest together.
Okay. I think the original intent was so that communities of interest were not split on purpose to divide people that were united in a cause.
I think that's a
Karen?
reasonable way to interpret it.
Or, I mean, yeah, Karen?
Mayor, well, I can make an argument for both of the comments that the Mayor Pro Tem has stated, as well as some of the things that you've stated, as well as the demographer. And I certainly understand the concerns expressed by the Mayor Pro Tem with the potential of growth. I came into this exercise also asking myself, we spend a lot of time trying to identify communities of interest. My preference in that is that we not split them when possible, but certainly if we had to split them, I would say by no more than two. But I think my preference is to keep them contiguous, as we discussed during this entire process. And if we do have to split them, I certainly don't want to see them be split by more than two representatives. Should we make that decision? But the bottom line is, I think it's best to keep them together when possible.
Okay. Well,
I concur with Karen that we should keep the communities of interest together because they all have the same interest. It would just make sense. Thank you.
okay. And, well, Mark, I understand your argument. I too, though, want to keep them together. That was the one negative thing about splitting into districts, is the fear that council members would not support the city entirely wide, and not just concentrate on one district. What future councils will do, we don't know. But I can see where if it's a community of interest that, like the downtown area, if it is split into and two different council members are diametrically opposed to a project, that could cause an issue if they don't have a single representative. But I can understand your reasoning. But I too support the communities of interest. So let's do this. Let's, right off the bat, eliminate the maps that at least split the communities of interest into threes. So we would eliminate 101, 102, uh, 107 actually splits it into threes.
And Mayor, just to highlight the ones that just keep them together. So 103 keeps the communities of interest together.
No, I understand, but Jack, the
wanna-
council also was a bit vague on ones that maybe would split it in two, so I don't
Okay.
want to eliminate those
Okay,
yet.
okay.
Okay? So 111, 112. So those that I just read off would be eliminated because they split at least the downtown area into thirds.
I'm sorry, Mark, can you repeat those, please?
Sure. Let me go back. 101, 102, 107, and 111, and 112.
And
Those are eliminated right now.
one other map, if I may, Mayor. Map 105, while it keeps the communities of interest together, has a concern that we see related to compactness, where it has an area that kind of sweeps around to catch another part of the community that is not.
I know, we'll talk about that when we
Okay,
get to
just wanted to-
105. Okay?
To bring that up as.
But immediately, again, it's 101, 102, 107, because I gotta write these down as well. 111 and 112. Those split downtown in thirds. Okay. So now, why don't we take, starting with 103, the maps that remain, why don't we take those one at a time and have discussion?
Okay, so map 103 here, as you will see, keeps all of the communities of interest together. So it has the three districts in the top are generally north-south. Park East is in District 4. Downtown Chino and the lower density areas are in District 1. And the areas in the eastern edge of the city remain in District 2. College Park and the Preserve are together in District 3. And in terms of I know there was a question last time pertaining to deferred voter analysis. So in terms of the number of people who would be deferred in terms of voters, go down to 103, that would be 5,965 residents who would be switching between 2022 and 24 seats. And in terms of the other maps, that is one of the lower numbers. It's I believe the third lowest number of deferred voters.
You know, Jeff, when we look at total population growth, like the population in these it's fairly balanced, but District 2 shows only 1,700 people. No, I'm looking at the wrong number. We'll go down to current population. We have so many maps to look at. Okay, so you don't want a deviation of more than 10%, correct?
That is correct. 103 has a deviation of 3.76%. So
Show me
any,
that on
anything
this map.
that's under a 10% deviation is allowable.
Okay, what figure are you looking at right now?
Yeah, so if you look at, if you look at the blue boxes, when you see total population demographics,
Yes,
then if you see, you'll see, the first one is the district,
right,
and you'll see population, deviation, and then percent deviation.
okay.
And it's again, the difference between the largest district and the smallest district as a percentage.
So these are pretty well balanced. The majority of the projected growth through 2030 obviously is in District 3 of 14,000. But we don't know how that growth is going to go. I mean, that's projected based on our housing element, right?
Yes, yeah, we used our housing element and then we applied just different population factors. So for the northern part of the city, we used a multifamily population factor, but for the preserve, it was a single family population factor.
Okay. Now, the preserve currently is 30% built out, correct? Approximately. Little, 40%? Okay, and how many years did it take to get from start to now? Did it take to get to 40%?
We're at year 18.
We're in year 18. Okay, so if we're only at 40% and it took 18 years, we have 8 more years to go to get to 2030. I doubt that we'll build another 60% by then. So the projected possible growth of 14,000, chances are we won't hit that, right?
So, in looking at this, how many more, I know we're looking at them as single-family homes, and we know that Lewis has some substantial big apartment complexes that they continue to build. How many more apartment complexes are they going to build down there, and what are we looking at with the apartment complexes, since we're not including those as multifamily, which we should be?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Rough calculation would be about 1,200 multifamily units, 1,200 more multifamily units in the preserve. Typically, for the population factor, for multifamily, it's 3.07 is the number, right?
Yeah,
Jack?
3.06.
Yeah, okay. And then for the single family, usually you have a little bit more persons per household. The preserve is a little bit different because there's a lot of younger families that are moving into there. So we don't have really good numbers on what the actual persons per household are yet, based upon if you had like single family home versus single family attached, which is like a condo, like a patio home, versus a single family or a multifamily attached, which is more of an apartment or condominium. So we don't know the numbers. So these are just kind of some broad estimates based upon what we've seen in terms of the overall development pattern.
So when does Lewis project on finishing their projects with their multifamily homes?
So they haven't given us a time frame for that. Their common answer as well, it's dependent upon market conditions. Currently, the way that it's going is that there's probably about 2 more planning areas that will be entitled within the next 12 months. And so that would bring us to the entitled portion of the preserve to about 2/3. And then it takes from entitlement to actually people moving in, it usually takes a couple of years for that to happen. So all of that is to say that it's probably not barring any significant changes in the economy, it's probably not a bad idea to think that it could be another 15 years before the preserve is entirely built out.
Okay, I understand that, but just talking about the multifamily homes, the apartments that they're building out there, how many more have they been approved to build? And what is their projected construction time of the ones that have been approved now?
Okay, so the ones that have been approved now, there's a little over 400, and those, they intend to start construction within the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay, so we're anticipating that in probably 2 years, they're gonna, so if we go 1,200, then we go by 3, now we're looking at 3,600 people. So now we've already surpassed the 10% of population growth within 3 years. And that's just counting apartment buildings. That's not counting single-family homes, which have more of a population, correct?
So the 1,200 is all of the apartments in the preserve combined. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
So the
So
buildings, the buildings that they have left right now,
Are, for Lewis,
Right.
it's 400 is what's entitled and is in the process of construction.
okay, so
Then there's the north of Pine area in the Fallon Crest. There will also be apartments in that area, but none of those have
Been
been
entitled.
entitled yet.
So right now, we're looking at potentially 400, we're looking at 1,200 people,
Right.
additional 1,200
Right.
people. Now, how many plans have been approved for single-family residents that will be built out between now and 12 to 18 months?
Oh, at least 500. Is it somewhere between 500 and 600? I don't have an exact number.
And
but-
so if we look at that, what's the average population of people that, if we take a rough number,
3.7
so
per
3.7?
unit, yes.
So within 3 years, we're not talking about 15, 16 years, we're talking within 3 years, we will surpass the 10% deviation for one zone.
We could stand to add quite a bit of population, yes, in the next 3 years in that area.
If the economy doesn't change.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's take, I guess, individual comments on map 103. Chris, I'll start with you.
So a few things I thought of when, looking at these maps is, number one, I am a firm believer in keeping the communities of interest together. And number two, I also considered all the, developing relationships I have with residents and business owners. And when I look at 103, I see that, number one, it fulfills all the communities of interest thing together. I know we talked about possibly splitting communities of interest into, at max 2. My opinion on that is, I would, if that's the case, I would like to see that split happen on Chino Avenue as being the boundary between 2 districts and splitting the downtown area that way. But when I look at 103, I like 103. I think it's probably one of my top maps. When I look at the, I look right, the downtown Chino's put together. And number two, there's, again, developing relationships I have with residents and business owners in this area already. I'm a big fan of 103. I think that's my number one for right now. We still got about 7 or 8 maps to go, but I like 103.
Okay. One thing I do caution council members is that we are not supposed to consider our current districts. We're supposed to be looking at what's good for the overall community. And I know you have a lot of established relationships in that area, but that really shouldn't be your deciding factor. I don't mean to lecture you, but it's about where the balance is and how the population is.
Well, I appreciate the lecture, Mary Eunice. I really do. No, but so I guess what I would say then, going back to keeping the communities of interest together, this is a map that does, and I'm a big fan of that.
Okay, Mark?
I'll just stick to my previous comments. I think I would be in agreement with Chris. It doesn't have to be Central Avenue. It could be Chino Avenue to split the downtown area. I also don't think that one person should have the preserve. I think with the potential growth within a couple years, we're going to surpass that 10%. And then as it continues to grow, it's just, you're going to have a person that's going to be representing probably close to 30,000 people by the time this thing is over. And I think, and I've seen some of the maps where they split the preserve. I think it needs to be split in a different area where it shares the growth between two council members, not just, you know, I don't think one person should have an area that's almost completely developed and the other person should have the area that's going to get all the development.
Okay, so this particular map you're not in favor of because of the majority of the development down in the preserve. You feel it's too much?
Yes.
Okay. Karen?
I agree with both of the comments that have been made by both council members so far, but I'm not opposed to this map.
Okay. Walt,
I'm not opposed to this map.
turn on your mic, Walt.
Okay, thank you. I am not opposed to this map. The only comment I would have is that District 2 doesn't have a community of interest in it, if that makes any difference.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would, but I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And for me, I don't oppose this map. Looking at the way it's split, the only objection I have is District 1, the north area and much of north of Walnut is still low-density, larger lots, which have nothing in common with the downtown area and the density on the south. So that's the only objection that I have to this. Otherwise, I would not put up a fight about this map. Mark, I understand what you're saying about potential growth, but we have no crystal ball to tell how this is going to develop. And I think right now, splitting off the preserve, we don't have 5 districts, we only have 4. And to split the preserve off, I don't know how the numbers would work doing that. So right now, I think College Park and the preserve probably have to stay together. But that's my comment on that one. So 103, we will keep and consider. Next, 104. I kept this in here because it does split downtown in 2. It is a bit different, it's kind of drastically different from 103, so I'll ask for comments on it. Chris?
My only comment, Mayor, is that this is one that I would be opposed to.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Mark?
He said he's opposed to this map.
He is?
104, yes. Mark?
I'm okay with the map. I mean, I don't know why they put the park and the prison land, why they took it from District 3. It's not any population. I think it should just include the industrial area south of Schaefer all the way to all the prison land, Ayala Park. It should all be included in 3 and not included in 4, but I'm not opposed to the map.
Okay. Walt? I'm sorry, Karen. I
Thank you,
don't
Mayor.
wanna keep splitting.
On this map, I don't like the split of the downtown area. We've talked about that during some of our planning. But I'm also not opposed to it in that split there. The only thing I would say on this map is I think you have the reverse issue of the potential population growth, if I'm looking at the numbers right, it's into a different district if we are to consider this map. Unless I'm looking at it wrong. The potential for the population growth essentially shifts from one district to the other, but should this council decide that that's the proper thing, then I understand, but this map has some things in there that I don't know that I can necessarily get my mind around, but it's not my preferred map.
Okay. Walt?
I'm not really happy with this map. One thing is the preserve is split up into 2 districts, and and the downtown is split up into 2 districts. And I put that down on my list. I'm opposed to this map.
Okay. I also am not comfortable with this list, or with this particular map. District 4, once again, remains gigantic there's really nothing much that I see in common with the north area of District 4 and around Park East compared to the preserve. I also disagree with how College Park and the prison land, how that pink line kind of comes down and jockeys around. That makes no sense to me. The boundaries would not be clean at all. I don't care for this map at all. So that puts no against it. So the majority of the council do not like map 4. Can we eliminate it? Is there a strong objection to eliminating it?
No.
No? Okay, so we're going to eliminate 104 after discussion. Okay, 105.
So if I may, 105 was one of the maps that we had flagged. As you can see, District 4 has an area, you'll see that has an area of population on the east side of the city and then an area of population on the west side of the city, connected generally between Schaefer and Edison. We have some potential concerns about compactness there, and that's obviously one of the items in the Fair Maps Act that we have to consider. So that was something we wanted to flag for you prior to your discussion.
Jeff, describe compaction. What do you mean by that?
Compact means that you do not bypass one group of people to get to a more distant group of people. So keeping the areas as close as possible. And so as you can see here, you'll see that we have an area of population around the Park East area. Then you've got an area of population to the far east side of the city, say east of Mountain to the city limits. It has that small sliver between Edison and Schaefer that connects those 2 areas of population. So that's where we're saying we have some concerns about compactness there.
Okay. Chris, 105.
Yeah, I'm opposed to this map. Looking at District number 4, that was a big concern to me as well. And earlier, Councilmember Pocock mentioned that District number 2 didn't have a community of interest. This is one area where each district, right, has a community of interest. So this is one that I wouldn't be opposed, that I'm opposed to, just going off of District number 4 being, again, from east to west.
Okay, Mark?
I don't like this one either.
Okay, Walt? Oh, God, I know why I'm doing that, because of my list. Karen, sorry.
It's okay, Mayor. In addition to the comments made by the demographer in this map, the shift of District 2 seems too drastic to me, to the percentage of voters. I'm opposed to it.
Yeah, that is the biggest shift. Walt?
To me, District 4 is just illogical with it being divided by District 1, and so I'm not in favor of that either.
Okay. I also am not comfortable with this due to what was described as compaction. Also, it was already noted that the number of people being affected by shifting election years would be over 13,000 people that would be affected by when they get to vote. One thing I do like about the map, I have to say, is District 2, all of the large properties are kept together, which there's a lot of continuity when it comes to zoning and stuff, but that's about the only thing I like about this map. Okay, majority or unanimously do not like 105, so we will eliminate 105. Okay, 106. Jeff, do you have anything to say about 106?
Yeah, so this has just a sort of different configuration of, again, keeping you were mentioning some of the lower density areas of the city together. It doesn't split the communities of interest, but it does split some of those lower density areas north of the 60 freeway between 2 and 4. and then has a slightly staggered area between, for District 1. And then District 4, again, remains north-south, generally to the west of Central, and then keeping College Park and the Preserve together.
Okay, comments, 106, Chris.
I like 103 and I like 106.
Mark?
You know what, the majority of the council likes keeping the preserve together in College Park, so, I mean, I'll go with the majority of the council. I'm fine with 106.
Okay. Karen?
No opposition to 106.
Walt?
I'm not opposed to this one. Just the shape of number 2 and 1 are kind of illogical and stair-step, but we do have our communities together, and each district has a community of interest. So I'll approve of that one.
Okay.
And Area 4 is smaller, and I like that also.
I like this map, but I do have a question. The green area north of Edison, east of Central, there's no, to my knowledge, there's no population in that. Why would that be in District 1? Why wasn't that kept in District 3 so that the boundary would be clean at Edison?
I'm pretty sure this was a District R submission. That's just how the person drew it. But we ran those numbers, and the area in the green that you were mentioning north of Edison, you're correct. There's very, very limited current population. So that, if that's something that you wanted to clean up, that could be put into District 1 without affecting the population balance.
Okay, so that could be included in 1, which would round off that population. The stair step that Walt had mentioned in between 1 and 2, if the council considers this map, is there any way to make that cleaner so it's not stair step?
Yeah, we can look into that. It's just if you give us some suggestions on potentially what areas you'd like to move. And again, those two are currently population balanced, so it would be just taking some out of 1 and putting it into 2 and vice versa. So if there are suggestions on how you'd like to see that, we can certainly take a look.
Okay, so this 106 will be kept as to be considered. Okay, 108. Anything you want to add on this, Jeff, before we discuss it?
Yeah, so this one is, I believe, one of the only maps that we're looking at here that puts downtown Chino into District 4, and then keeps the majority of the lower density areas together in District 2, as District 1 keeping the far east side of the city all the way to the city limits, and then again keeping College Park together with the preserve.
Okay, Chris? 108.
Yeah, 108 keeps all the communities of interest together. I just would point out, number 1 doesn't have any communities of interest in it, but at the end of the day, all the communities of interest are kept together, so this is one I wouldn't be opposed to either.
Okay, Mark?
The only thing I don't like about this map is it puts 17,000 people without the ability to vote on this go-around. It is by far the largest. So you literally take Mark Hargrove's old district and my old district, and you take their voting rights away on this go-around. That's the only thing I don't really like about this map.
Okay, well, word that a little bit different. It doesn't take away their voting rights. It changed the year that they vote.
Well, it takes away their ability to vote this time around for a
Right.
city council member.
So it would take those, many of those, 17,000 that combined that could vote this year will have to wait till 2024, and some of the ones that would wait till 2024 would flip and vote this year.
Correct.
Okay.
But other than that, I have no problem.
Okay. Karen?
I agree with all the comments made about this map, but I'll add to that, the shift, the displacement of District 2 from sort of its origin just doesn't make sense to me, and then it creates the displacement of those voters. So I would say because of the displacement of the voters and the complete shift of the districting, especially with the election approaching, I would not be in favor of this map.
Okay. Walt?
This one is more logical to me, where seems like the most of the lines are straight on here, and I like that, and I like having all the lower densities together, and it does not have, number one, like Chris said, there's no neighborhood in District 1, but other than that, I agree with this map.
Okay. I have a question of Jeff. It is kind of strange that 1 and 2 flipped district numbers. Can you tell me why?
I believe, yeah, this was a District R submission, so that was the way that it was drawn. But again, you can, if it's the direction that you want to flip those back, we can.
Well, what kind of impact would it have on the voter displacement, though?
So, I mean, regardless of the numbering's the numbering. You can number the districts however you want. I guess the question would be, you'd have to address that in the election sequence. So which one of those districts would be up in 2022 and which one of those districts would be up in 2024? That's,
Well,
Two's
again,
up in
2 is supposed to be up in 2022. Ow. But this would make District 2 up in 2024. So I'm saying if you made 2, 1, and 1, 2, what impact would that have on your displacement number of 17,151? Do you have the data to tell us that?
We
You're
would
not
have to
following
rerun
me,
those
are you?
numbers, the change numbering and get that to you. It's not something we can do on the fly, unfortunately.
So we'd have to.
But we
have
can
that
certainly
comment.
run those and get them to you before the next meeting.
Okay, well, we have, so far with the 4 votes, we have 2 yes, 1 kind of undetermined, 1 no, and I'm like, there's some things about it I like, some things I don't, so I'll say I'm kind of a question mark too.
What if you just moved 2 into 1 and 1 into 2?
That's what I was saying, they can't do it. They can't do it on the fly. They would have to look back at that and recalculate, see what the impact would be.
Well, we know that the numbers of the population would remain the same. It's just going to be flip-flopped. And we know that the large number of people voting would be a lot less because they'd be voting this time around if they were in 2, because the majority of that block is a 2. So that 17,000 would go down dramatically.
It could, but until they confirm that, we wouldn't know. Another question that I have, which again would not affect any numbers at all, and that is the split between 3 and 4. Again, I think the line should go straight across on Edison. It makes no sense to put the park in a different district. I mean, nobody lives there, just to clean up the boundaries. It probably should be Edison to Central and then South.
got it. Okay, so you're saying that area that's
little
currently
pink
labeled
area.
College Park?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
okay. So this one I'll leave in because we don't have all the data. Okay, map number 13, 113.
Okay, so here, this keeps the lower density areas generally together, mostly in District 3, some parts in District 1. Keeps District 1 to the far west side of the city. Keeps downtown Chino together and then moves it east to the city limits. And then again, College Park and the Preserve are together. And this map also keeps the line. There's been a couple of comments about a few other maps keeping the line between the district that generally has the preserve and College Park together, keeping that line at Edison, and this map certainly has that.
Well, the numbering is sure different on this one. I know it's really drastically different. The population that would be impacted is low, it's 3,800. Chris, comments on 113.
So right now, we have 3 maps we're considering, right? I'm not sure, will the next round be out of 3? Will the next round be out of 4? But
3, 106, possibly 108, and then we're on number 113 right now.
yeah.
So comments on 113.
Can I save my comments, Mayor, for maybe after Councilmember Pocock?
Sure. Mark?
I don't have an issue with the map, except for the numbering. If we moved number 4 down to 3, so if 3 became 4, and 4 became 1, and 1 became 3, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I think the numbering is just way off too, because you're basically displacing every single council member from their home. You got Chris would have to run in 2 on this go around with this map. It moves me out of my district, and I would have to buy a home up north to be able to run. And then moves Karen out of her district because now she's in 1. I mean, this completely just takes every council member out of their home. But if the numbers were changed and 4 became 3 and 4 became 1 and 2 and 1 became 3, then I would have no issue with it because, other than Chris would probably have to run this year if he was going to remain in 2. But other than that, this numbering just messes everything up. I mean, this completely takes everybody out of their home.
It is weird. It is strange. Karen?
I agree with everything that's been stated so far. This map has a similar problem to me as the last map is without the demographics being changed and we understanding the voter shift. I agree with everything that's been said, so for me, this would not be, absent the shift of all the demographics, this would not be a map I would recommend at this moment.
Okay. Walt?
Well, I like the map itself. Everyone has a community of interest. The lines are pretty straight on it. The only thing is that the numbers are illogical or out of balance, and because of that, I can't go with it.
Okay. And I agree. The numbering on this is just bizarre.
Can I say something?
I'll ask for public input
I drew the map.
as soon as we're done, okay? The numbers are bizarre, which I'm not sure how that would impact, how it would truly impact elections. I mean, it just flips everything around really strange. It does keep the communities of interest together, which is good, although, I don't know. I think the numbers are what really throw me off. So we've got the majority, Chris, and you still need your comments, sorry.
Well, I was going to ask if I can hear the gentleman's comments before I make my comment.
Well, I'd like to hear your comments. We're still going to get his.
Then I would oppose this map as well for the sake of the numbers.
Okay. Right, so we may or may not keep this one in. We're going to have public comment on it, of course. Okay, that narrows it down somewhat. Now, any council members want to go back and reconsider any of the maps that we have eliminated? Chris, do you want to reconsider any of the ones eliminated?
No.
Okay, Mark?
No, I think.
Okay.
No, I think the council's spoken. They want to keep the communities of interest together, so I'm good with what we've done so far.
Okay, Karen? No? Walt?
No.
Okay, so we have remaining for discussion 103, 106, 108, and 113. So there are 4 maps that we still have to discuss.
Well, I think 113, we're all opposed to it, but we wanted to hear his comment.
Right, that's why I'm keeping it in. All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask, is it okay if I ask for public comment now? Would that work?
Yeah.
So at this time, I would like to ask for public comment. So please come up, state your name for us and which map you're addressing.
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry for speaking out of turn there. My name is Jeff Baca, and speaking of 113, kind of new to map drawing, and so I assigned the colors. So after I did the colors, the software automatically gave it numbers. So I didn't know District 1 was going to show up in certain areas. So I just did it based on getting the colors put onto the map. And then there was a little button that said assign numbers, and it was like the software automatically gave it a number, which doesn't correspond to your district numbers, but the idea was to go to the proper district numbers. I didn't know how to redo it.
Oh, I see, okay.
So that's why I was saying please don't, I wasn't trying to make sure that, you weren't in your district or you weren't in your district. It was, after I did all the colors, it automatically gave it numbers, and I wasn't aware of that. So I just want to make that clear, that I wasn't trying to make everybody be in a different area or something. It's just the way the software kind of automatically did it. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, well, that clarifies that issue.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So knowing that, if the council members are interested in this map, I'll go back and talk to each council member. Then if you're interested in keeping this map, then I would direct our consultant to go back and renumber and give us the true population split. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, knowing that the program assigned the numbers and that they could go back to a logical assignment now, council comments. Chris? If the numbering is changed.
Well, it'd be the numbering or just the districting?
Well, the district
the
numbering
district
changed, and then we would see are you interested in seeing this map come back with the district numbers assigned in a logical manner?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Mark?
I am not opposed to it.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Karen?
I have a question. So what we're saying, Mayor, based off this gentleman's comments, is that 1 would essentially become 4, right? 4 would become 3, 2 would become 1, and 3 would become 2 for the demographer's purposes? Is that what we're saying?
Either
For
that or
clarification?
the green would be 2.
The green would be 2, that's what I'm saying.
The top would become 2.
Correct.
The middle would become 3, and the bottom would become 4.
Okay.
Okay, so it would be 1, 2, 3, and then 4 down at the bottom. 4 would still stay 4.
Mayor, if I may, can we just,
No.
since
Why
you were identifying, you were identifying them by colors, why don't we just go through colors?
Okay.
So you said green would be 2.
Yeah,
No.
blue would be 4, because that's what it is now, right?
No,
No.
Pink is
So
four.
3 would be pink.
3 would be pink, right. The
One
blue would,
would be blue.
no, it would be 4.
he's saying
would
it
be
back,
blue.
he's saying it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything on that side would be 4. So the blue on this map would be 4. The top green would be
2.
2. The chartreuse would be 1. And the bottom pink would be 3.
Okay, so
If we look at how the other maps are, correct?
If that were to be the council's desire, Mayor, I'm not opposed to looking at that.
Okay, so that's a yes, you would look at it again. Walt?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so the majority would like to see this map again with the numbers reassigned in a logical way to the way the districts are now.
got it.
Okay, so we will not eliminate 113. Okay, so that stays with us. All right, so we have it narrowed down to possibly 4. 3 definite yes, consider with 1, we need to see the new numbers. Any other council comments that would possibly eliminate another map? Because 4 are still quite a few to consider. I was hoping we'd get down to 2, but it doesn't look like we're gonna make it. If you want to take a minute and look at the 4 of them.
I have a comment on 108, Mayor.
Okay,
There's 2 communities of interest there that District 4 has. And I think I like how District 1, the makeup of District 1 in its present state, and that District 4, I think, in this particular configuration, has more in common from a density perspective and zoning and land use with housing, more into the north portion of town versus traveling further east in District 4. So that's my only comments about 108.
so how would you change 108? If you could change it.
I don't know how I would change 108. I would just state that I think that the shift in this, again, for me, is 2 over to the other side, where I think I prefer the maps where 1 is more the downtown area that takes the lower density, or some of the maps that we have already identified. And that District 4, the land use and some of the zoning in 4 has more in common from a density and use perspective into the northwestern portion of town versus traveling further east, which we didn't get that far in the eastbound maps on 4 in the past, but those are my only comments.
That's true. This takes 4 further east. You know, let me pause. I should have finished our public comments before going back to council comments. So any other public comments before we further discuss these maps? Okay, seeing none. Councilperson Comstock made comments on 108. Any other further comments on 108, either in favor or opposed? So I'm assuming, Karen, that you are opposed to 108, which is what you had stated before.
If the council wants to keep 108, I'm fine with it. You were just asking if there was another map potentially for us to reconsider as a council and look at the decisions we made. This is one I would suggest potentially looking at.
Okay. Chris, opinion?
Of the 4 mayor units, I wouldn't, 108 is one that I would want to get rid of and focus on 103, 106, and 113.
Okay. Mark?
Other than cleaning up the park and keeping that in 3, I'm not opposed to it.
So you still like this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Walt?
It's okay, I like it.
I don't care for it. So it's 3-2. I'm going to say let's eliminate this one and concentrate on the 103, 106, and 113. Is there any strong objection to that? Okay. So we have it narrowed down to 3. 113, we need the numbers to come back to us. 106, there was a suggestion on shifting one of the sections up from 3 to clean up that boundary. Last comments from council members. 103, Chris, last comments?
106, you mean? Oh, 103.
103, I'm going to start back at 103 again. Last comment?
Comment on 103, I'm for it. Of the 3 that are presented before us, number 103 would be my number 1 option.
Okay, you like number 3. Mark?
I would agree with him. I like number 3. I think that's the one I like the best.
Okay. Karen?
I don't have any opposition to 103.
Okay, Walt?
Other than area 2 doesn't have community of interest, that's the only thing I have, but so I would go approve area 103.
Okay, so we'll keep 103. 106, Chris? Comments, additional comments on 106?
This would, I guess 106 would be my second option.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, that would be my second choice.
Okay, Karen?
Sorry, Mark, hold on just a second.
Uh, 106,
I agree with the rest of the council.
okay. Walt?
I can't go with this because of the odd shapes of these districts.
The stair step?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps with the majority liking this map, can the consultant look at eliminating some of the stair steps?
Yes, so for 106, we had talked about the area generally between Edison, Magnolia, Schaefer, and Central.
Right.
Yes, so.
Perhaps some of the other stair steps north, where the 1 and the 2 kind of go up and over a
Yep.
couple of times. Perhaps look at
Yeah,
that.
and so what we can do is we'll just present the revised map, so we'll do like a 106A. So you can see potentially what some of those other changes would look like.
Okay. And then 113, Chris?
Just going based off of these lines being, already pretty clear cut, I guess I would revise my list. 103 would be number 1, 113 would be number 2, and 106 would be number 3, pending the new drawings. Yeah.
Okay, so you're interested in seeing that come back? Okay. Mark, with the numbers cleaned up?
You know, ma'am, I don't have any problems with the numbers cleaned up, but I think the majority of us, all agree that we all like 103 the best. So I'd be willing to move forward and adopt number 3 as the map.
I think that's a little premature, since we've got some information coming back. But that's good to know for the record. Are you in favor of seeing 113 with the new numbers?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Karen?
I'll do whatever the majority of the council wants to do on this, Mayor.
Okay. Walt?
113, yes.
Okay. So 113 will come back with new numbers assigned and the charts corrected. Possible changes to 106. So we have 3 maps coming back, 103, 106, and 113. Okay. Any
Mayor, if I-
last comments from the audience?
Mayor, if I may, they'll actually, do you, and just to clarify, do you want 106 to come back as is, or do you want us to prepare a 4th map? Because there were some revisions that you wanted to see.
106A.
Cleaning. Okay, so,
Yes, 106A with that green moved up, and what would happen if you straightened out some of the stair steps?
okay.
And if I may, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
One suggestion. The legislation doesn't really spell out when the deadline is for the public to submit maps, but there's no prohibition on the council setting some reasonable deadline. So this council may want to consider whether to announce that members of the public may submit maps, say, as late as when your agenda comes out, so that the public and the council have an opportunity to review those proposed maps.
Well, I would get, if we don't set a deadline, I truly appreciate public submittals on this, but at the same time, it just gives us more to consider, that could be small tweaks, and so we'll never get done if we keep accepting maps. So what deadline would be reasonable?
So the suggestion I made is by the time your agenda comes out, I believe that's on the 11th, is that correct? and maybe at a
Yeah,
certain
my only
time.
concern is if we do it when the agenda comes out, the city won't have enough time to do the analysis. When we got these maps on Thursday, we were scrambling to try to get them to you on Monday. So I mean, we need probably at least 3 or 4 days to be able to analyze the map and get you good information.
Which would
So,
mean
which
the
would be like,
deadline
I would
have
probably, tomorrow,
Yeah.
correct.
I don't know if that's fair. And we don't want to drag it out. Let's see, we have to have our selection legally done by what date?
April 17th.
April 17th. And we have 2 council meetings in March. To be fair,
Mayor, if I may, I mean, I think we've been fair. This is we're doing 4 hearings. This is actually our 5th hearing that we've had. We've provided adequate opportunity. It's just that we're trying to get it down to 1 or 2 maps so that you can finalize that, realizing when you're working back, you have to adopt an ordinance. There's first reading and second reading. So really what we're trying to do is select a map by February 15th, which is our next council meeting.
And to piggyback off of what Matt's saying, I think we need to make a decision as soon as possible, only because we're gonna have people starting to run their campaigns, and they need to know what the districts are so that they can get their signatures and then file their paperwork and then get their campaigns going. So I would say we do it sooner than later. That would be my suggestion.
okay, if we do that, then the deadline for the public to submit maps has to be tomorrow at the close of business, in order for staff to get them marked up, annotated with all the numbers, to come back to us on Tuesday night, correct? A week from today.
Correct.
Okay. Most people that are interested in the district, I think, have been watching and observing what's going on and seeing the maps and stuff. So, okay. The deadline for any other public map submittal will be tomorrow night at, what, 5:30? When we
5:30
close City Hall. Okay, in order for us to consider it on Tuesday, the 15th? 15th. Okay. Any other last comments from our consultant?
No, other than we appreciate the feedback, and so we will get back and process those maps and with the changes that you discussed, and look forward to continuing the discussion on the 15th.
Okay, any other last comments from council?
Just a question, that map that's gonna be revised on, when should the council expect to have that map, submitted to us?
We'll work on that over the next couple of days, and we'll circle back with staff on that, but we should be able to do that within the next couple of days.
Should be in our council packet that we get on Friday. Okay, as any map that comes in tomorrow night should be in there also. Any other last comments? Any last comments from the audience? Ma'am? Yes. No, come up to the lectern, please, otherwise we can't hear you.
Yes, map 103.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't split in the preserve, was it?
No,
Oh, okay, because I thought I saw it splitting.
no, 103 was not. It kept it together.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Any other comments from the audience? Okay, seeing none, then I guess we will adjourn to our regular meeting that will be held on February 15th at 7 o'clock in these council chambers.